Go ahead, David, you can start.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon once again, teachers. I hope that all of you are having a wonderful time. So today we have the privilege to introduce you to Ms. Carolina Rodriguez Buitrago. Carolina Rodriguez Buitrago works as an EFL language professor at Universidad de los Andes in Bogota. She also teaches a postgrad course on information and communication technology and English language teaching at Universidad ESI. She has worked as an instructional designer for different universities and private institutions, and she has been a member of the board of the Flipped Learning Network since 2021. She holds a master's degree in educational technology and TESOL from the University of Manchester, UK, and a certificate in English from Mount Holyoke College, US, and 4 certificates for the line in positive education from Universidad Tecmilenio, Mexico. So we give her a warm welcoming. So Ms. Carolina, the microphone is all yours.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you very much to all of you teachers for being here. It's an honor and great pleasure to be here with you in this conference and to speak to you on behalf of Macmillan Education. So allow me to share my screen and get started. Okay, well, so today we are going to be talking about flipping your English class with artificial intelligence. I know the topic of the conference has been all this post-pandemic era improvements and enhancements that we have been able to make in our classrooms. And well, the pandemic taught us important lessons about flipping classes. And of course, after we came back, the surprise was that now artificial intelligences for education were widespread. So, well, we have to adapt to these things that are emerging. And so the idea is for us to talk about these two things as a combination today. So I want you to think about your classrooms. I want you to think about that idea of having students in the center of the learning process. What does that entail? What does that mean, right? Does it change our teaching practices if we put students at the center? Does it change the environment in the institution? Does it make us think about different things such as student variables? I guess a lot of people think I'm not going to put students at the center of the class. They don't know, they don't have the maturity to decide, they don't have the pedagogical knowledge to make decisions. However, if we don't put students at the center, then who is going to be at the center? The teacher, right? And so if teachers are at the center, then all the decision making is ours. All of the activities come from us and everything becomes teacher centered. And yet we want students to be autonomous and independent. So I think this is a reflection that I want all of us to have this afternoon. And it is when I put my students at the center of the learning process, what does that mean for my teaching practice? What does it mean for my students and for my institution, right? So I don't know you, but I would love to have classes with students like this. Very happy people, excited about what they are going to learn. But I am a university professor, as David mentioned in my introduction, and I do not see that immediately as I come into a new class. Students are reluctant. I'm an English teacher at a university where I teach students in architecture, law, engineering, medicine, etc., etc. So for them, English is just, as we call it in Colombia, un relleno, like you just fill in the schedule with some activities you need to do, and English is just that for some of them. So the attitude, engagement, involvement of students is not necessarily the first thing that I see in a class. I have to work hard to make that happen. And how do I work hard? Well, using the things that I want to share with you today. So I want us to watch something. So please, David, tell me if the sound is okay.
Have you heard?
Is it? Okay, great. Perfect. So let's take a look at a video.
Have you heard of ChatGPT? It is an AI platform that is a lot more advanced than your typical Alexa. This is OpenAI. It is open source, so it is able to be mass edited. With the help of a community, they have been able to really expand this AI to be quite efficient.
Okay.
And it is posing a big problem for teachers because ChatGPT can write authentic essays now. You can say, write me an essay on the Civil War, this particular battle, this particular day, and put it in third person. And it'll go, and then you go, oh, sorry, I need a bibliography. Done.
Really?
Yes.
So, Devin, what I'm hearing is we have just solved the education problem in America.
You know what else we solved?
What?
The homework position that I took in the beginning. We are now done in 6 minutes. We are finished.
I liked it.
Dad, what's no? ChatGPT, not me.
Okay, well, so I would like you to write in the chat box if you experienced some sort of fear when this whole ChatGPT wave came into our knowledge. Write on the chat, what were your feelings about listening to this new AI technology that can write essays for our students, that can write pretty much the answer to any question they ask. I would like to read you in the chat box in here in Zoom. And if there are any comments on the stream, I would like David's help reading those, if possible. So what were the feelings that you got when you heard about all this ChatGPT idea? I'm talking to the teachers who are watching. Marta, Cynthia, Evelyn, Andrea, Cindy, Genesis, Darina. What did you feel? Vivian, Oscar, Paola, Nadia, Stephanie, Nicole, Rosa, Adolfo. Can't wait to read a couple of you. Tough crowd. Let's break the ice with David.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Yes. Okay. So what has been our experience using this chat?
Yeah, what were your initial feelings when you heard about this AI technology?
Well, in order to be honest, I haven't tried this new app, but I have heard that this is basically something that most of all the teachers are using for letting the students know that this is an app that can really help them to encourage and write something in a better way. But I haven't used it yet, but I think that this is something that has advantages as well as disadvantages.
Absolutely.
So that's my point of view.
Great. Thank you, David, for sharing. You see, you broke the ice, and now Stephanie shared something really interesting with us. It changed the way I thought about lesson planning. ChatGPT represents a challenge for all of us, but we can also use it as a tool in the classroom. Absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie, for that opinion you shared with us. There were divided opinions. I'm sorry. There were divided opinions. Some people were super scared. And we have to go back to pen and paper to make sure that students are not using ChatGPT to write their homework. But then there was this other wave of teachers who started experimenting and using it and seeing what's going on. And then, well, today I'm going to share with you some reflections about that experimentation process to see how you can leverage this amazing tool, not only ChatGPT, but artificial intelligence tools in general for your English class. So first of all, we're going to go through understanding flipped learning. What is this? Then we are going to explore AI in education. Then we're going to discuss briefly some benefits of flipping your class with AI. Also, we're going to look into practical steps to implement AI in a flipped English class. To continue, we will be addressing concerns and challenges. And to finish, I will give you an interactive demonstration of a tool that is not ChatGPT, an artificial intelligence tool that you can also use for your planning, as Stephanie mentioned, or with your students. That will depend on your decision. Okay, So first of all, the first part of the title of my talk is flipping your English class, right? So we have to understand what flip learning is. So I am going to share this image. It's an interactive image on the chat box, okay? So David, if you can give me a hand, please sharing this in the stream as well, so that teachers who are watching on YouTube can still get access to this, right? And so what this does, this is a website called Genially. What it helps me is build interactivity within my images, right? So I'm going to share with you some definitions of flipped learning. There is a definition from 2014 by the Flipped Learning Network, one of the organizations that is kind of one of the pioneering organizations for theorizing and establishing best practices of flipped learning. Then we have another definition by Professor Robert Talbert in 2017. Then we have the gold standard definition by the Academy, I always forget, Academy of Active Learning Arts and Sciences, right? And then we have my definition. During the pandemic time, I decided to jump ahead and have my own definition of this. So let's get started. According to the Flipped Learning Network, flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction, meaning the teacher talking to the students, is moved from the group learning space to the individual learning space. While the group learning space, meaning the classroom, transforms into a dynamic, interactive, and different scenario where the teacher becomes a facilitator or guide while students apply the concepts directly in more creative and meaningful ways, right? So basically what this definition mentions or key points in here are, first of all, that it's a pedagogical approach, right? Second of all, that the class and what we sent as homework will shift sort of, and there is also a shift in teachers and students' roles. So the teacher becomes a designer of these experiences and also a facilitator of them in the classroom, and students become more active in the application of concepts and the use of different things, right? Okay, then in 2017, Professor Robert Talbert, a math professor, it's important to mention this, he's a mathematics professor at a university, he proposed a revision of the definition. And this revision says that flipped learning is still a pedagogical approach, but he changes the wording a little bit. He doesn't say direct instruction, but first contact with concepts, right? So it's not all the teaching that the teacher can do, but the first time we present a concept. So let's imagine we're going to present the dreadful passive voice, right? So instead of spending 45 minutes in class explaining, we would design some material that students could access on their own. They will check it, they will understand it, and then in class we will devote all the time to applying, right? Okay, so where was I? Here. I moved into the, from the group space to the individual space in the form of structured activities, right? So this is an important thing. A lot of teachers say, I flipped my class 20 years ago because I give readings to my students. This is the typical university type of activity, giving a reading and then having students read and have a class discussion. That is not flipping. What is flipping is a structuring of activities for inside of class and for outside of class. So that is a huge difference there. And there we have, again, the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic and interactive environment where the educator guides students while they apply the concepts and involve creatively in the subject matter, right? So that is his definition, just a brief change. And then in 2018, John Bergman, he's the leader of Flip Learning Global Initiative and one of the pioneers of Flip Learning. He gathers a group of educators from all around the globe, and they come together with a definition. So these two definitions, the Flip Learning and Robert Talbert, these are kind of situated definitions. The Flip Learning Network is made out of 8 people, I think. At the beginning, it was probably 9 or 10. And then Robert Talbert is just one person. But the gold standard, this definition has the voices of over 50 educators around the globe, right? And so what does it say? It says that flipped learning is a framework, okay? That is an important word because what John Bergman says is that we just provide the framework. It's like he also calls it a meta strategy. So flipped learning is a meta strategy, so you can use any other thing that you want, right? That allows educators to reach every student. And this is beautiful, reach every student. So if we are thinking about student-centered learning, we want to reach, to capture every one of our students, not only the good ones or not only the average ones, right? But everybody. The flipped approach inverts the model of the traditional classroom model, introducing concepts before the class, right? Allowing educators to use class time to guide students through active application, innovative and practical application of the principles of the course. So the three definitions share the same principles, and is that there are two spaces, the classroom and before class. So for flipped learning to work, we have to redefine homework. Students need to forget that idea of homework they have, that is something sterile, that is useless, that the teacher just gives it to me to keep me busy, that why would I do the homework? I can do it 5 minutes before class. We need to resignify that concept for this to work. In 2020, as I mentioned, I proposed my own definition, which is flipped learning is a compassionate teaching methodology. There goes my background in positive education. Compassionate, not in the Spanish sense of the word compasión, which is like pity. No, compassion in the English sense of the word, which is love, right? Which is I care for me as a teacher and I care for my students. I care for the learning process. And so that's why I'm going to invest all this time planning, thinking, rethinking the way that I do things, right? Students are placed at the center of the learning process. Teachers are architects of authentic, meaningful, and intentional learning experiences for both spaces of learning, in and out of the classroom. If you know any civil engineer in your life, you know that civil engineers and architects don't go along, right? Because architects dream up beautiful things. They dream these buildings that are so amazing, but the civil engineer hates them because they're so difficult to construct, right? So the architect dreams stuff up, imagines things that are probably not possible, like the Sydney Opera House, right? However, the engineer will tell you every possible thing you can remove for that project. So that's why my word is architect. I want to be an architect. I don't want to be one of those civil engineers identifying all the no, it's not possible. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. The curriculum, my administrators, they don't let me. I want to be an architect to dream up all these lessons that can turn into meaningful exercises for my students and guide them towards learning. Okay, and also in this, you have an additional definition, which is in-class flip, which is, I don't know what happens there in Honduras, but in Colombia, for example, in schools, English is one of those classes that should not give homework, because homework is dedicated to history, social studies in general, math, and science. So students shouldn't have this many number of hours for homework. So English usually is restricted to assign homework. So we, Marta Ramirez and I, a colleague and I, created explored and theorized a model called in-class flip, which is a group of configurations that are adaptable to the inside of the classroom, right? Where the spaces, the individual and the group space coexist in the same place, right? Allowing the flipped learning to happen within the school setting, right? School or university. You can flip inside of your classroom without assigning any homework, okay? Well, so that image is for you, just for you to check, the definitions later. So now I want to read you. I am going to ask you to please go into this Menti, right? So you can either scan the QR code or you can go into menti.com and insert that code, or I will give you the link in a minute in the chat box, and you will answer the question, what do you understand as flipped learning? So give me 1 second. I will share this with you in the chat. So there are many ways to access, or if you still find difficulties accessing, you could answer the question on the chat. What do you understand as flipped learning now after the presentation of that image? I'll drink some water in the meantime. I want to wait a couple minutes just to make sure everybody has scanned the code. Okey-doke. Okay, we have the first response in the chat. Thank you, Stephanie. The question in the link is, oh, no, not yet. Is it this one? Are you seeing this one now? What do you understand by flipped learning?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, good, thank you. Thanks a lot. Remember, you can access in the link or using menti.com and adding the code 555926243. Okay, great, thank you. We have pedagogical approach. Yeah, that's safe, good. It is an interactive and meaningful approach that promotes engagement in and out the classroom in order to produce knowledge and language. Good, thank you. I like that one very much. It's very clear. Yeah. Okay, remember, you can also participate in the chat box or in the comment section on the YouTube stream. Yeah, we don't have a lot of participation, 30 participants in the room. Okay, we can come back. Honoring time, we have to just let it slip for a minute. Okay, so we can talk about now the benefits of flipping for teachers and students. You might say, why would I want to change my traditional teacher-fronted classroom where I just deliver all my knowledge to my students. Why would I want to change that? So there are some benefits for teachers and of course some benefits for students. So the benefits for teachers, first of all, enhanced classroom engagement. Do you remember the pictures I showed you at the beginning, like how I want to have happy students? Well, this definitely has helped create a different environment in my class where students are more engaged and they actually participate in what we are doing. Individualized instruction. Since I'm not at the front of the classroom explaining the concepts, but I can circulate around, just checking that everybody's gotten things or answering questions, I can provide more individualized instruction to the students who need it. Deeper learning. I have noticed that because students access information outside and inside the class, they achieve a deeper level of understanding and of learning. So I teach academic writing, and so for me, it's easy to see whether the students are acquiring and internalizing things because of the products that they hand in. And so definitely learning becomes deeper. Time for own one-on-one interaction. This is very similar to the individualized instruction. I can spend more time with students, either explaining concepts, clarifying information, or providing feedback and additional support. And improved assessment. Since I'm not all the time using my time speaking to all the class, delivering the content, then I can provide more timely feedback and also more accurate and personalized feedback, right? Now, what would be the benefits for students? Flexible learning pace, right? Not all the students learn at the same time, we know that. And for example, when I'm teaching, I go with my example of the dreadful passive voice. Whenever I'm teaching something like that, some students are going to get it right away because they had a really good experience at school or because they saw it somewhere else, but some other students are going to take more time. If I am just delivering that explanation one time only in the classroom, a lot of students are going to miss it, right? Maybe a student who misses the class is going to miss it. So by flipping my class, I can provide a more flexible pace for all the students to get things in their own time. Increased engagement, definitely students will become more engaged in what they're doing because they're more empowered, they have more responsibility. Active learning, the teacher talking, like for example, right now, I only see black boxes in the Zoom. You could be sleeping, you could be grading papers, you could be writing a report, and I wouldn't know because we are not active, right? So, and when I do the active activities like the Mentimeter, I can identify that there is no activity, right? So whenever we flip our class, it's easier to have, to be on top of what's happening and to have active learning opportunities. Ownership of learning. This is a great benefit for students. Students, I don't know there, but here in Colombia, students are not autonomous. They are not independent. They really rely a lot on the teacher. And when they get to higher learning experiences like college, they experience a lot of obstacles because of a lack of study habits and ownership. They just want to pass the classes, right? And so with this, we are going to really make sure that students are more connected, not only to the concepts, but to the idea of learning. I have something on the chat. Okay, same here, yes. Okay, probably we share very similar characteristics of students here and there. So collaboration and communication, this is a great benefit, especially in a language class. When we flip our class, for example, I have flipped the grammar and vocabulary components. So all the input goes outside of the class, and then inside of the classroom, we have tons of opportunities for collaboration and communication, which really is at the heart of language learning, right? They need to really write and speak to be able to produce. And so when we do this flipping, we can benefit from that, right? So now let's think about how to start joining these two giants, artificial intelligence and flipped learning. So how can AI enhance the flipped learning experience? We can provide personalized content delivery. We can utilize artificial intelligence technologies to personalize the content for students. Some students are going to like audio more than video, others video more than text, other text like comics or whatever. And so instead of having to do 4 different resources. I can use artificial intelligence to just prepare one and have it generate all of that for me, right? Adaptive assessments, I can use artificial intelligence in order to create assessments that adapt to my students' different needs. And so this will also definitely enhance the flipped learning experience because they would be more connected and empowered and they would own their learning process, right? Intelligent content creation. So we can, as I said, write a script, and I can insert that script into different platforms and it's going to convert it into different forms of content. Automated grading and feedback. This is something that has been around for many years, and I can take advantage of this to optimize time, right? To be with students, to provide the human part that only I can provide. Data-driven insights. This is super important with artificial intelligence. Now, if you have a platform like Moodle, Blackboard, Brightspace, etc., all these platforms provide a lot of data about student time on platform, about students' difficulties, about clicking and everything. So you can really get interesting insights from the data that the platform gives you in order to make instructional decisions. Virtual tutors and chatbots. Here is where ChatGPT falls in the category. ChatGPT is a chatbot. And so we can use these tools in order to provide more, like, let's say, a closer company with our students so they can enhance the writing by themselves. Gamification and engagement. I can create gamified activities, game-based learning. I can also create badges and things that connect to my platform and so helps with the motivation and engagement of my students. Language processing and translation. I know this scares some English teachers a lot, but students are going to use translators whether we like it or not. So we better teach them how to do it correctly, right? We better teach them how to use tools like Grammarly, like DeepL, and all these other tools that help them translate and process language. I tell my students, don't use a translator, yeah? Don't use a translator, try to use a dictionary. I try to teach them how to use it. But anyway, sometimes, for example, my students, I don't know, I have a physics student and he has to read articles that are like very complex and he doesn't have time. So in that sense, we can help them learn how to better utilize the technology. Content recommendations. Stephanie mentioned something about having the lesson planning in a different way, like understanding lesson planning differently. You can ask ChatGPT, give me a list of 10 activities to do with the passive voice, and it's going to give you the 10 activities. It has all this variety of data. So it can be also great for us as teachers to get some recommendations, right? Formative assessment in real time. This is something that has been around. We are using tools like Kahoot and quizzes since the pandemic, right? And so we can get students to see their feedback right away, to get answers to their questions, right? So this is a benefit there. Collaborative learning, absolutely. We can enhance flipped learning with collaboration. Accessibility support. Now there are many tools that help us with our students with hard of hearing problems, with sight problems, students who cannot concentrate, for example, reading a text online. Now there are artificial intelligence tools that read the text for them so they can read and listen at the same time, you know, so we definitely can have a lot of ways to help our students with special needs. Time efficiency. Once we learn how to use all this, of course, it's going to be more efficient. And lifelong learning tracking. So we can help our students by creating action plans or creating models in which they learn on their own, and we can help them build that with artificial intelligence. So flipped classes can be rewarding for faculty who like a challenge. Most of us became scientists because we want to do things that are intellectually stimulating, right? We want to learn, that's why we're teachers. And so flipped learning is a great opportunity for that. So now we're gonna explore AI in education. We're going to go back to the Menti, and this time you're going to answer the question, what is artificial intelligence, okay? So let me just flip it here. Okay, there we go. Oh, we have some answers already. It is a software that is created for building something that needs to be assisted or directed by a computer or a system. And we have an opportunity for teaching English in and out of the classroom. Okay, that's a great way to put it. I think those were the two responses that we had in the other side, I guess. Let me see. Yeah, so we just have two people participating, I guess. So I'm going to move on. All right. So I found a definition online about artificial intelligence from an educator. I forgot his name right now. I'm so sorry. Artificial intelligence refers to the ability of a computer or machine to perform tasks that would normally require human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, decision making, and more. So think about Alexa, right? How many of us have Alexa or Siri or Google on your phone? Just say to your phone, Google, what time is it? And it is going to tell you, right? It is boom, 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 right? Alexa, play this song in Spotify. Alexa, turn on the lights, right? So artificial intelligence is basically any tool that would do a task that would normally require human intelligence. So grading papers that would require human intelligence, right? Teaching content, right? Correcting pronunciation. All these things would require human intelligence. But now we have, oh my God, did I? Stephanie, that's funny. Okay, now we have all these tools that do all these things, right? So one more thing here. AI can be applied to a wide range of areas, including natural language processing, image and video recognition, robotics, and more. This is being scary because now people are misusing artificial intelligence with fake news. There was this huge problem about that. So the goal of AI research is to create systems that can perform tasks at least as well or ideally better than humans. AI has the potential to revolutionize many industries and transform the way we live and work, but it also raises important ethical and social questions, right? I mean, when we're using Waze, Waze for me is the best artificial intelligence there is, right? Because I cannot locate myself anywhere. So I just put the address, I just send it, and then it tells me where to go, right? Perfect. That's fine. But when we're using ChatGPT to write an article and then pass it as our own in a journal, that is plagiarism. And so we are getting all this ethical conundrums, right, that we have to discuss as educators. So in education, AI is normally used for personalization, automation, data analysis, and engagement, right? We have programs, and thank goodness for that. Do you remember, anybody is as old as me that remembers writing student report cards by hand, right? Writing all of your students' reports. Now you don't have to do that. Now there is automation of this process. Grades, you had to write them down on a piece of paper and then submit them, and then someone will have to upload it somewhere, paper-based. Now everything is automatic. So there are many things that help, of course. Data analysis. Platforms have huge amounts of banks of data that can serve and can inform instructional decisions. I think that's wonderful. And also engagement and personalization are things we can take advantage of. Actually, I did mention that in the flipped learning benefits, right? So let's see some examples of AI tools, right? There is one called Pearson Virtual Tutor, which gives students feedback on their papers. There is Duolingo. Who hasn't tried a new language with Duolingo, right? Twee, it's like an activity generator one. Busuu, I don't remember which this one is for, but don't worry. Babbel, we have Grammarly, which is the one to help us correct our grammar, right? We have Write and Improve, which also helps to correct your writing. Linguist, which creates study plans for grammar and vocabulary. ReadLang, which helps you translate or read aloud any text. Memrise helps you with vocabulary memorization. Rosetta Stone is your language course, similar to Duolingo. We have ChatGPT, which is our chatbot that everyone is so scared about. Anki, Edpuzzle, and there are more. I just didn't have enough space in the slide. However, I want to give you a present. I want to give you a gift, and it is a document of, wait a second, I don't know where I saved it. I think I must have saved it in the desktop. Yeah. So here we go. Here is a list of some AI tools and platforms that are commonly used for English language learning, right? So you can get that document, download it, save it, and explore it later to see which of the tools you are going to use, right? What would be some of the benefits of flipping your class with artificial intelligence? Well, first of all, you can create individualized learning paths. This is really hard to do by hand. You know, like I know these 3 students need to reinforce pronunciation. I know these 2 students need more grammar. These 5 need reading. But when am I gonna sit down to design all these lessons? So what I do is I insert all my student data, or I use the platform data that I already have, and I create individualized learning plans just by clicking on boxes, right? Time saving, definitely this is going to save me a lot of time if I use the artificial intelligence, right? Intelligent content recommendations, as we mentioned before, these platforms can provide us with recommendations for what we should teach, what we should, go deeper on, what are the topics that students are having more difficulties with, and so we can adapt our teaching to our students' needs. And adaptive learning, precisely, these two go together. So how do we implement AI in flipped English classes? First of all, we can use it for content creation and curation. We can utilize AI-powered tools to generate or curate relevant learning materials. So curating is, using something that is already on the internet, and creating is if you want to make your own videos, if you want to make your own texts. We can use AI tools for both, right? Creating interactive lessons with AI-driven content. There are many great sites, and I'm going to show you one at the end, that you can use in order to create different lessons for your students, okay? You're very welcome, Geraldine. I'm glad you like them, okay? Great. Pre-class assignments. So remember, we're flipping, so we have to have pre-class and in-class. So for pre-class assignments, we can assign AI-assisted readings, videos, or exercises before class. We can utilize these websites. For example, Edpuzzle helps us lets us generate questions inside a video. So we can have students watch the video and answer some questions, and we'll get some data to see what student is confused and what student really gets it. We can make groupings and organize things with this pre-class assignment, for example. Encourage students to engage with the material and prepare for classes. This is something that we would need to do in any flipped environment. For the in-class activities, shifting focus from content delivery to active learning during class time. So if I have my students being prepared for class, I can spend time doing stuff, active learning, hands-on work, yeah? Conducting discussions, collaborative projects, and problem-solving activities. Like I can really get my students to use what I want them to use instead of just understanding what I want them, what I teach them. Assessment and feedback. Using AI for automated quizzes, assessments, and formative feedback. I did mention Kahoot. You guys have quizzes, GimKit, Socrative, all these tools that we learned how to use in the pandemic, we can bring them back and use them for automating assessment. Analyzing student performance data to identify strengths and weaknesses. This is the information that we get from all these platforms. So you have your students do a lesson, they do the lesson, they put some answers, and you can analyze that information with kind of a researcher's eye and see where difficulties are, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and what students are getting lost in the topics. This really gives a lot of rich information, right? Also, engagement and motivation get benefited. We can build and bring gamification elements with AI-generated challenges and rewards. We can create quests. We can create escape rooms. We can create all these great things. For example, Genially, it's a website that has a lot of templates, and you can generate all these activities just by adding some text, right? You don't have to do any of the design. All of that is done, already by the designer inside of Genially. So that's a good use there for artificial intelligence. Incorporating AI chatbots or virtual tutors for instant help and support. So I know you have heard about ChatGPT during the conference and how you can leverage it to help you in class instead of being a problem. So one of the ways in which we can leverage ChatGPT is by making it a tutor, right? Okay, you have a problem, ask ChatGPT and we can discuss what it says to see what you think, right? And so we build critical thinking as we are having our students use this new technology. So concerns and challenges. There are many concerns and challenges, but I think there are three that are very pressing, that are privacy and data security, ensuring students' information is protected. We have to be very careful because nowadays there are many things that can be done with students' information and with our information. So I know of teachers who are very reluctant to have their students use Google Sites because Google collects all of their data online. So we would have to have those discussions at our institutions to decide which of these technologies are something we actually want to use. Overcoming resistance to technology adoption among teachers and students. Definitely teachers, we are the most difficult to adapt, but in any change, according to Rogers in 1979 and his theory of diffusion of innovation, anytime something is going to innovate or change, there is a curve of learning. And there are some people who are early adopters, and there are some people who he calls laggards. And the early adopters are those people who go for it. Okay, I'll try it. I don't care. And the laggards, the last ones in the list, are the ones who just wait until the last minute to implement the innovation, right? So what we can do as institutions is to profit from the early adopters, those teachers who naturally liked or are inclined to learning new things, to implementing new technologies, to implementing new pedagogies, to have them do it first and then have a cascade plan for training where teachers who are already knowledgeable can train the others, right? And also balancing AI with human interaction and personalized guidance. The idea is never to replace teachers. We are irreplaceable. The idea is to maximize our potential, maximize our work. In flipped learning, there is a question that is, what is the best use of me in my classroom? Is the best use of me to give content that is online? Or is my best use of me, my humanness, my warmth, my care for my students, my patience for explanation? What is the best use of me, right? And so when we have that clear, we can decide how much we're going to give to the artificial intelligence and how much we're going to do ourselves, right? So let me show you really quickly. I think I have just enough time. I'm going to show you how fast we can design an activity with one of these artificial intelligence tools. This one is Twee, TWEE.com, right? And so you can go into your project. So I'm going to create a project. And here, Twee gives you a lot of possibilities, right? Create a list of advantages and disadvantages. I just want to show you one that I love. Create questions for a YouTube video, right? Okay, so I chose the activity. I'm going to go into YouTube. And I'm going to look for a video on the topic that I want to teach today. That is relative clauses, defining and non-defining, right? So this is what I want. Relative clauses and pronouns, defining and non-defining, right? Oh, but this is in Spanish. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want it in Spanish. I want this one in English. English grammar lesson. Great. Of course, I would do this better. You know, the choosing of the video, I would do it better than this. But for the purpose of showing you how easy this is, I'm just going to pick the first one that I have here. So I take the video, I copy the URL of the video, and I go into Tweet, right? And I paste it. Okay. So Tweet grabs my video, right? And I say, let's do the first 4 minutes of that video, and let's ask ABCD questions. That's what I want. Do the magic, okay? And as you can see, just as fast as this is going on my screen, Tweet is generating 5 questions for, ABCD type of questions for my students to answer about the video, right? And I say, I want to go a little further. Wait a second. Oh, I have more questions. I have 10, right? And this is only out of 4 minutes of video. So you can decide, I want to give them all. I don't want to give them all. I want to just cut and paste, right? But you have in seconds, in a matter of seconds, the questions and the answers, the correct answers for those questions, right? So your exam just gets generated like that. Let's say that I want to also add some discussion questions to this video, right? So not only I have my multiple choice questions, but I want to add the same piece, I want to add some, discussion questions. Okay, there we go. My class is done. I copy, paste, or I save as PDF, right? And I have my activity generated in probably 3 minutes, as you could see, right? Okay, so I wanted to do that demonstration. And that is only one of the tools. There are many tools. The idea would be to explore and see which one you want to use, okay? So some tips for getting started. Start small. Integrate AI tools gradually to avoid overwhelm. And this also goes for flipped learning. If you have never flipped your class, just flip one lesson, right? Flip just one thing, do one tool, and wait and see how it goes. Professional development resources for teachers to upskill in AI integration. This is very important. I gave you a list of tools that you can explore, but having some sessions on using these different tools would be great for you to practice and to really make time for them. Collaboration and knowledge sharing among educators using AI in their classrooms. So you can just use a tool and share with the people in your institution, in your level, how it went, to share the experience and learn from each other, right? So there is some time for questions. I don't know, maybe just a couple minutes if there are any questions. Okay, so I have a question from Stephanie. You talked about personalized learning with AI. Considering that, does flipped learning work for big classes, or what would be the ideal number of students to actually benefit from this approach? Stephanie, it actually works with any amount of students, and it works in any sector, like segment, educational segment. So if it's elementary, if it's middle school, if it's high school, university, private education, public, it works anywhere. I have had students, I direct master's thesis, and I have had students implement this in rural areas, in urban areas, with small children, with adults, across the board. So it's going to work in that. And definitely, if you have the availability of AI, would be wonderful. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your question and your participation. Okay, well, so I have some conclusions. Start small. Yeah, definitely start small. Have a growth mindset. It is important to know that you are learning and that everything can go wrong and it's okay. So dare to fail. That's the other conclusion, right? Try one tool next week. That's the conclusion of today. You have, you saw the slide with so many possibilities. Try Tweet. It's very simple, very easy, and there are some free features. All of these pages have some stuff that is free, some stuff that you have to pay for, but the free did what I did, and that's an activity for a class, so no problem. And put students at the center. That will be one of the conclusions here. That is why we would, put together flipped learning and artificial intelligence to put our students at the center of this learning process. So thank you so much. Here is my email, my website, in case you want to keep in touch. Thank you very much, and I hope this was of your interest.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carolina Rodriguez. Definitely, you have enlightened us. You have given us such a wonderful and fantastic conference, and we are really and deeply excited, and we really want to tell you thank you so much. So I think that we do not have any more questions from the audience, and so we might end now and continue with the next session. Thank you very much for joining us in another session.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Miss Carolina.
Thank you. Bye-bye.